Did you? Oh, good. We are live. Okay. Hopefully they can see us on Facebook. I'm not sure. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Last week we couldn't get connected for some unknown reason. I have no idea why. We are live. Okay. Hopefully they can see us. Honestly, I hit the wrong button. Turn the volume down. I have my iPad going so that I can see you guys in the chat because most of the time I can't. But today I can. I can't see the YouTube chat, but I can see the Facebook one today. Hi. I hope everybody had a great week. We had the village yard sale today. So that's the reason why we're going an hour later than usual, because that usually runs till about 1 o'clock. But we were done a little bit earlier than that today. It was a very busy day for the village. I mean, they do this every year. Instead of having yard sales all year long, we have one day, usually at the beginning of September, where the entire village and our part of the village known as Springwater, everybody does their yard sales on the same day. So we get a tremendous amount of traffic that comes in from the city and from surrounding villages. And so it made for a very busy morning. We had a lot of fun, got to chat with neighbors and some friends and whatnot. So it was a nice way to spend the morning. But now I want to paint. So had a lot of painters come by today too, which was really fun. And a couple of ladies that came by that actually live in the city and that watch us on YouTube every day. So hi, it was nice seeing you again. I do have a shout out and I don't have a shout out. It's technically not a shout out, but I'm going to give one anyway. My shout out this week is to Sheila Landry. I don't know if you guys saw this week, but she posted 10 new patterns. 10. All using snails as the theme. They are so stinking cute. So if you want to check out these snails that she's done for Halloween, they are too adorable. And she's done them all on these wonderful little pumpkin surfaces. So check that out on her website. You're going to love them. There's bound to be at least one in that series that you're going to love. So go and check those out. They're at tollpaintingdesigns.com is Sheila Landry's site. You can see the link. It's in the description just below the live on the YouTube channel. So go and check that out. Her snails are freaking adorable. So yeah, you got to go and look. The other thing, paintingwithdeb.com. My pal Deb has not really painted in her true Halloween prim style in a while. And she was kind of fussing about it the other day. Well, she's come up with this awesome new piece for Halloween. I cannot wait till that pattern is ready. It is phenomenal. So go and check out paintingwithdeb.com because she's got a great new piece. Very prim. It's very Deb. It's freaking awesome. So go and check that out. It's a great stocking or shoe, like a Halloween type shoe with the orange stripes, the purples and the greens and pumpkins and all sorts of fun stuff on it. As is normal for our Deb, she's got all kinds of great little details in her piece. So you're going to love it. Not only that, but she's got a ton of new kits. And she just got a shipment of Stampendous stamps in. Stampendous is closing its doors, and thankfully they allowed us to buy up the inventory on some things that we use all the time. So mine should be here soon, probably in the next week, and we're going to have a great stamp sale. But in the meantime, go and check out Deb's site at paintingwithdeb.com because she's got lots of Stampenda stamps, great prices, and she's got some awesome kits too. So check that out. I did have some happy mail this week. You wouldn't have known it if you'd seen my face because all I did was leak when I opened it. I don't have it down here because I don't want to leak again. A very dear friend, Edward Hensley. Sweetie, you got me right in the feels. I'm telling you. I was a blubbering mess when I opened this box. It came from Amazon. It's a wonderful picture frame for Soot, for a photo of Soot. It's just the most darling thing. It was just so sweet. But Edward, if you are watching, I hope you are. I know you're probably really busy. Now that you're ending your gardening season, you're probably in the house a little bit more. So hopefully you're watching. And if you are, thank you so much. It was a very sweet of you. And we are just so grateful. Thank you. What else? What about you? What are you up to? Nothing?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Quiet. Okay. So today we are painting. What are we painting? Eggnog season. Hello. So this is the one we're painting today. These are just fun. The mate to this one, which is it's pumpkin season. This one, it's eggnog season. This one I am painting on the Artfully Connected Facebook page with Cindy Harrelson. This one, it's a free class. You'll be able to watch it live. It's on their Watch, Create, and Learn lives. This one is a fun one too. Both of these are available as a kit, or you can have just the pattern, but they are both available on the website. And the date for the one with Artfully Connected is September 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So today we're going to paint. It's eggnog season. This is a fun one. This one has a great stenciled background. It's a nice layered technique, works really, really well, and it's really easy to do. It's also really easy to adapt to almost any color choices that you want. So if you want, instead of doing it in green, you wanted to do it in red, you could just simply choose a couple of variations in red. It'd be really a fun way to adapt this design. I've done this background before. We did it on the Nutcracker piece, and it's a really easy one. And I just thought it lends itself really well to sort of this holiday theme and to the fall thing too. So that is what we're going to do. So if you guys are ready to get started on its eggnog season, so am I. Okay. This is such a fun piece to do. It is not a difficult one. I'm using the word a lot today. Maybe I should be That's what
Time to meditate.
Time to meditate. Yeah. Yoga. I think that's what it is. Anyway, so this is what we're going to be doing is eggnog season. I have my surface prepped, but I wanted to walk you through this background. So
Give me a second to zoom in, yeah?
The stencil that I'm using is M23-3, M2-3. It's this one, this flourish one. My girl Sandy uses this one all the time too. I've just become quite enamored with it of late. I've been using it quite frequently. Because this one lines up, it's actually a really great one to use for this. So I'm going to tape it in place because I don't want it to shift. Because that's the kind of luck I'm having today. If I were to do something, it sure as the devil would shift. I can promise you. So,
before you get too far into it.
What? Giveaways.
What are those?
Oh, those are fun. There's some stencils in there.
Okay.
And there's some Tombow mechanical pencils in there.
Okay.
And there's a set of my new pens in there. So the new red ink, the black ink, and the new white ink are in there. And, of course, some other goodies. There's always other goodies. And jingles. So we have 3 great giveaways today.
It sounds like cat toys.
No, that's the keychain.
Sounds like a cat toy.
Or the pin. I don't know. There's a bunch of goodies in them. So we have 3 of those to give away today. Their approximate value is about $25, which is a nice little chunk change, a little cha-ching. So 3 of you are going to get one of those little sets. Those are just some extras. Just some extras.
Not a fan of the the skew on some of these.
No, the skews are
They
hooped.
look like, medical identification for certain.
Yeah, I know. So the base color for this piece is super simple. The tag that I'm using, these are on the website. These are just an MDF tag. Now, the base color for this is Black Forest Green. Any dark green will do just fine. I just love this one in particular. And then we are using 2 other colors on top of this. We're going to use some Holly Green. This is sort of a tone on tone.
I have another question.
You do?
Are the new pens available on your website?
They will be.
They will be.
Yes. We're just waiting on the white ones to come in.
Fabtastic?
Fabtastic.
Okay.
We have, I'm really excited about the white one because it is very opaque and it rolls very smoothly. The new red one and the new black one have a really nice fine point. But they do come, and I will tell you this right now, they come with a little wax glob on the end of the pen. And don't be a knucklehead like I was and try to figure out how come my pen doesn't work. You have to get that little wax goo off the end of the ballpoint. And it doesn't come off all that easily, I have to say. But once you get it all cleaned off, the pen actually moves very smoothly. And it's very nice. So I'm rather excited about that. And the nice thing is that the price isn't going to change, which is really nice because that's what I was looking for. A good quality pen, good quality ink that wasn't going to cost an arm and a leg. So now I'm using the Holly Green to stencil over top of this flourish. Now, it does not have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be neat. Doesn't have to be tidy. Just want to get a little of that color in so that all of the shapes have color, but they do not have to be super solid. So circular fashion, change directions frequently so that you get a nice even distribution of color.
Smell that roast.
Yeah, pot roast for dinner tonight. Didn't take you long to get on the subject of food. Are you hungry? I said, it didn't take you long to get onto the subject of food. Are you hungry?
I'm gonna go get something to eat.
Okay. The answer to that would be yes, then. It was a fun morning. So I like this because it's sort of a tone on tone, and that brighter green is a little subdued by that darker green underneath. But it gives you a nice tone on tone look when it's finished, with a little bit of contrast. I like it. This is a versatile way to do a background. What I like about this is that there's a lot of room for little goof ups and whoopsies and whatnot that you don't really have to worry about. So if it doesn't look perfect, it's okay. So I've covered everything, and as you can see, it's brighter in some spots, less so in others. But look at this. So we've got that nice green over top of that really dark green, and it works rather nicely. So I'm going to move my stencil. Now, this stencil is designed so that you can move it. So I just move it over. Where did my thingy go? I lost it. Where did it go? Oh, good grief. It's here somewhere. I'll figure it out. So then you can take your stencil and simply line it up. I'm just trying to figure out where my lineup is. Ta-da! There it is. Okay. So I moved it down. And all I do is just make sure that this is lined up evenly, like so. Tape it back down. And again, circular fashion, change directions frequently. Ta-da! Trying to see where everybody is. The reason I wanted to tell you about Sheila's snails, she's such a sweetheart and she's so good to me. I have a copy of her patterns, and I don't know which one to paint first. I really want to paint one. I have no idea which one to paint first because they're so stinking cute. And they're so creative. I think I've seen maybe one pattern that involved snails, and I just thought that these were utterly brilliant. They're so fun. And all of the different shells and whatnot, they're hilarious. But I mean, I create a lot, but I don't think I have ever done 10 of something in a row the way she did. I mean, she did 10 of these, one right after the other. I don't think I've ever done that. But such a cool pattern. So how fun is that? I love this color. That holly green is just so pretty. Now, when you get to these edges, don't worry about getting them fully opaque, because it doesn't really matter. So if you get little areas where, perhaps it wasn't as perfect as you would like, that's okay. And bring your stencil down and position it, tape it in place. I'm going to move my tape so that it actually sticks to the surface. There we go. Oops, I had a little too much paint on my brush. There we go. Such a pretty stencil. I like this flourish stencil for this. So now I have all of that side done. So I get to move my stencil over like so, because that lines up with that side. I'll tape it in place. And we only have a small portion on this side to do. So you don't really have to worry about it being absolutely perfect, because it doesn't matter. There's so much stuff going over top of this that it's unlikely that anybody will see that seam anyway, so it doesn't matter. So there we go. And this is just a great stencil for this because it lines up fairly easy. There we go. Just want to make sure that everything is lined up. And if I've done this right, I should just have a little piece in the corner here. Ta-da! So a little spot there. Right there, I'll line that up. So it's just this little bit right here that I have to do. Crystal and her partner in crime came by today, which was really fun to see them. Haven't seen them since before the pandemic, so it was really nice to see them. And that they're, Crystal and her partner have expanded their business a little bit, have added some laser cutting to their repertoire. So I'm excited to see what kind of products they're coming up with. And I know their new laser was supposed to arrive a couple of weeks ago. So I'll be excited to see what they create. So we have our background in. I'm going to dry this real quick. A couple of spots here that are still a little bit iffy. Oh, he found food.
Don't mind the skirts.
Kimchi?
Kimchi.
So we're going to come back up and reposition this stencil. And why do I think I've got that backwards? Because I do. That's why. So I'm going to reposition my stencil. Make sure, try to be as accurate as I can. I'm going to tape it in place. Now we're going to use a little bit of peacock teal on this. So I have not bothered to clean my stencil brush, so I'm just picking up a little peacock teal. And where the center vein on some of these swirls is, I'm going to use a little bit of peacock teal. And I'm just going to focus it on that center vein, like so. And the same here. I'm going to do that here. Just a little bit of peacock teal. Just so that it's towards the bottom of these, I guess you could call them leaves. So that's kind of where I'm focusing that.
Oh, just a heads up.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one jar of kimchi left.
Okay. So I have to make some, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
It goes quick.
It does go quick. So I like this little, it looks kind of rough at first because it just looks like you've got fuzzy worms on your stencil. Like so. But this is what it does to that. So you get this nice little flip of light back there. So I just move my stencil and come down, line it all up. Try to get it as close to the original as you can. Tape it in place. And then you just repeat that process on those, what I call a center vein, or that line up the center of the pattern. Just like so.
Sheila says everyone's doing gnomes and old trucks, so I'm doing snails.
I'm kind of obsessed with fall right now. Not kind of, I am obsessed with fall right now. So you can see what it does for that green. It just helps create this really soft, pretty effect. I'm going to line up my stencil again. Now, if I were doing this with, say, a red, I would do like a cranberry wine in the background. I would go with the Tuscan red for the stencil pattern. And then on that center vein, I think I would probably pull a color like watermelon slice or something like that. Something with a pinkish hue, a dark pinkish hue. I think it would look fabulous. Done in reds, I think it would be very pretty. Spicy? So, and again, I'm going to come up onto this area here and carry that over. There we go. Love that little burst of teal in that green. It's just so pretty.
That cabbage made a world, or not cabbage, radish. That radish.
Yes, the Dagon radish. So pretty. I love how that just, it makes that green just pop. It's very pretty. So we have one more thing to do with that stencil, and how much of it you do is entirely up to you. I'm going to reposition my stencil for the third time. And we're going to use a little bit of gold. I love a little bit of gold in this. And again, I'm just using a dirty brush, but I'm going to pull a little of that out onto the tips of some of these leaves, like so. Just a few. You don't want a ton of it everywhere, but just a little bit, and it's just a dry brush, not a lot. And I like using the dirty brush because I feel that you get better control over it. I think because there's still some green and still some teal in there. So that little bit of gold just pops, makes those leaves pop. And I'll move it down. And again, I'm just using a tiny bit. I don't want a lot of it. And I'm focusing it out towards the ends, some of those leaves.
My lips got gum.
So just a little bit. Doesn't even have to be everywhere, just a few places. I just like how that little bit of sparkle, it does wonders. So it's very soft, very subtle, but it does give you a really pretty background. So from this point, you are ready to put whatever you want on this. I love the pattern. I love how it looks. I think it's really, really rich. And that little bit of that gold back there just does, sparkly, wonderful things for it. So once you've gotten to this point, you're going to trace and transfer your line drawing on. And then any shading that needs to be done around the design elements or around the lettering, you can do right away. Or, it can also wait until afterwards. That's entirely up to you. But I kind of like doing all of my shading first. I find that it makes everything pop up nicely and it gives you a nice clean finish in the end. So that is our background. It's super pretty, very elegant. You could put almost anything over top of this. I think it would look great. But I think for the festive season, for Christmas, I think it just lends itself really, really well. You have to pardon me. My I suddenly developed my nose is all plugged up again. I have picked up a cold of all the blessed things.
That's not the word you wanted to use.
No, it is not. But of all the things that I could have picked up, I picked up a head cold. So I've been very nasally this week. But at least my face isn't and eyes aren't running anymore. That's an improvement. So now that we've got that background in place, and that's such a super easy one to do. So little patience is required, but that's about it. We're going to start working on the cup. This is a super simple motif. It's not an overly designed piece by any stretch of the imagination. I fell in love with this glass cup. I had one for the longest time that was very similar to this, and I broke the handle. But I love the shape of it. And I have line drawings galore of this particular cup. And I just like the shape of it, but it's always been as a mug, you decorate the outside of the cup type thing. I always thought it would be so much fun to do one that was meant to look like glass, that chunky glass. And so the idea of doing this full of a latte with pumpkin spice or pumpkin spice latte, that came to me, hence the pumpkin spice sign. And then I got thinking, well, wouldn't it be cute filled with eggnog? So I had a whole bunch of new colors I had to play with. So here we are. So I've got the cup. I can't find my color now. Good heavens. So the handle, the outside of the cup, the footer, all of this is based with Bahama Blue. 1 or 2 coats is really all you need to finish that. As you can see, I base coated mine and left the lettering blank because we'll do the lettering towards the end. So Bahama Blue for all of the glass. And then we're using our Prussian blue is our shading color for that. The holly leaves in here are this new duckwork color called Lush Green. And our berries are Country Red. Not a new color, but one of my favorites. We're using Country Red for the berries. And good old-fashioned warm white is for the cream at the top. The cinnamon stick is red spice. This is another new color from Deckwart. I really, really like this one. This red spice has become a favorite for me. And then our
is it like a muddy red?
eggnog. No, it's a very spicy red, like a brick. It's very pretty. And the eggnog in the glass is almondine. This one is also a new color this year. I like this one. It's quite nicely opaque. Not quite as yellow as, say, an antique white, but in that same family. It has a nice warm tone, very creamy, and lots of white in it. So it covers very, very nicely. So those are our base coat colors for this. And then, was it a spicy one?
I got a radish that just decided to have all sorts of fun with my nose.
You're welcome.
The next year like that.
Now, the highlighting colors for this holly is this one. This is also a new color from Decor. This is Sprout. This one is quickly becoming a favorite. It's a very, very nice highlight color for greens. And so we're going to be highlighting with this. And my shading color is Plantation Pine. It's my go-to shading color for dark greens or deeper greens like this. So it is Plantation Pine for that one. Right there. I love this green. It's very transparent. It's ideal for shading, especially on these, and it's works so well on a variety of greens. So you're not relegated to just using this on these, earthy type greens. It works really, really well on a number of greens. And then our country red, we're going to be using a Prussian blue to shade our red berries. And of course, I can't seem to paint anything without some asphaltum. So asphaltum is our shading color for a lot of this. I do love my asphaltum. I'm down to I'm getting low. I think I'm at 6 bottles. I can't have less than 6. If I have less than 6, I'm out. So we have a pretty short color list for this one. And we do not need to have a ton of colors. I do love these two, that holly green and the black forest pine, or black forest green, and this peacock teal for the background. And that teal picks up the Bahama blue. The greens all work really, really nicely together, especially that dark black forest green is so rich. It's just a great color. And then 24 karat gold for all of the gold highlights. And we're going to use some gold a little later on when we finish this piece, because we're going to spatter this with a little bit of gold just to give it a little extra bling. I do like my bling. So we're going to get started with the shading and highlighting on our eggnog. I'm going to put a little bit of that almondine on my palette because I've got a couple of spots there that I think need to be smartened up a little. I think I've got a... Now, I'm using a number 2 rigger just because it lets me get into some tight places. A couple of spots where it just wasn't quite opaque enough. I just still see some of the green through it, so can't have that. But that almondine is a lovely warm white tone. There used to be a color once upon a time. It was sort of a light, like a creamy mocha color. It was very, very nice. This is probably close to that. A little more white, I think. But it's such a lovely, lovely color. So yes, I just went to a couple of spots that I thought needed a little something, something. Just didn't look quite as pretty as it should have. So I'm going to dry this, and we're going to start with shading all of that almondine. And I'm going to be using a little bit of asphaltum. And I'm going to use 3/8 angle shader. Oops. Give it a good soak. Now, I want these floats to be very weak because I'm using asphaltum. It's going to be a little dark. So I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm using a very small amount of asphaltum.
I ate it all there, Patrick. It's all gone. Can't give Mom any more radish. Man, my nose. It's spicy.
San Pellegrino. So I'm shading down the right side where it meets the glass with a little bit of asphaltum and along the bottom. And I'm going to keep the bottom area a little bit darker than the sides. I just want to give this a little bit of depth. So I want that bottom area to be a little darker. They seem quiet today.
Yeah. Well, Kat McDonald just suggested a hot toddy.
She's a hot lemonade. I did that yesterday. I had a hot lemonade. I made some hot water with some lemon and I threw in a teaspoon of honey just to take the edge off. And it's very soothing.
And my nose is running because I just ate
He
kimchi.
ate a bowl of spicy Korean noodles.
Kimchi. With pickled cabbage and radish.
And mine is not running. It's just decided that it's going to slam shut for the duration. I don't know what's worth. The other day, my
Alcohol optional.
I had a couple of glasses of wine last night. It didn't do anything for the cold, but I didn't care anymore, so.
And you slept good.
And I slept very well. Till about 3 a.m. I could hear coyotes.
Oh, yeah, the coyotes.
And we saw one going across the highway the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's unusual.
Well, he was all by his lonesome.
Also unusual.
Yeah.
He must be sick.
Yeah, he didn't look too bad. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I've got it nice and dark towards the bottom, so it's darker at the bottom, and then a little bit up both sides. I don't need it to be super dark, just a little darker. And I'm going to use the same color to shade the cream, the whipped cream on this, except I'm going to heavily thin this paint because I want a little bit of control. And so I'm going to put just a weak float right here. Oops. I got a drop of water on my surface. There we go. I didn't blot my brush well enough. So I'm just putting a little shadow to mark the ridges of this whipped cream. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side.
Half an onion under your bed.
Half an onion. That's one I haven't heard in years. But my grandmother used to say that. She used to say that before you went to bed, if you were really, really sick, you'd put half an onion in each sock. And put the socks on your feet. That the onion would draw things out.
Weird.
Sounds strange, but a lot of these things have, an element of truth. There's a reason why some of them were used. Not that I want to take onions to bed, but they said the same thing about a bar of ivory soap.
Mm.
You could put a bar of ivory soap at the foot of your bed. I saw a stand-up comedian the other day was talking about his Filipino mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that she cured everything with Vicks VapoRub.
It cures everything. I'm pretty sure that's the cure to cancer, isn't it?
Vicks VapoRub?
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, Elizabeth Mitchell gave me a great suggestion the other day when I was really stuffed up, to use a little bit of peppermint oil under my nose. And as I am a firm believer in peppermint oil, I tried it and it worked like a demon. It was great. I felt better
Vicks?
almost instantly. Yeah.
Vicks is menthol, but
Yeah. So I'm just shading the back side of that whipped cream so that we have a little definition. Now, these are weak floats. I have thinned the paint an awful lot because I don't want it to be too heavy or too dark. And I put a little asphaltum on the cream here, and I'm going to put a little bit underneath the edge of that glass, just a little. Et voila.
oh, good for you, Patrick.
He got a new door.
You quit smoking.
Oh, good for you. No more Gauloise for you.
I quit smoking about a year ago.
Yep. Now I can't get paint out of my bottle. So I'm trying to get a little not Payne's Gray, Prussian Blue out of a bottle here. Now, the Prussian Blue is my shading color for all of this glass. And again, these colors, I'm heavily thinning them. So lots of water, lots of glaze, tiny bit of paint. You don't need a lot of paint for this. And we're going to put some Prussian Blue right here. I love this color. I love Prussian Blue. It's such a great color to shade Bahama Blue with. So I'm going to shade the handle like so. Where it joins this little bit here. And we need a little bit of one side of the handle.
Gauloise cigarettes don't taste very good.
No, they do not. I know this from experience. They do not taste good.
I thought the Gauloise was just a holder.
No, there's a brand of cigarette in France called a Gaulois.
Oh, didn't know that.
I don't know if they still come in the same package, but they used to come in a blue and white package years ago. So I'm going to shade all of these areas on the glass, or this mug, I should say. I love the fact that this lettering is not base coated yet, so I can just float right over it. You don't have to be particularly delicate. That's the nice part when you put all of that in.
I honestly can't remember the last time I got sick.
I can. February 2nd, 2020. It was 2 days after I came back from Germany. Everybody in this house was sick.
Oh, yes. I got the 24-hour version, though.
Yeah, you get the 24-hour version. I had mine lasted maybe 6 hours. I was sick before I got home.
Yeah, that was that food one that we thought it was the food.
It wasn't, because I brought it home with me.
Yeah, everybody else was dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Renee and his father and his sister, the whole three of them were in bed for a day. 24 hours. And then they were fine. And everybody that I was with was the same thing. Everybody was down for about 24 hours. I'm just grateful that it was, all I had was one little bout of nausea, and that was it. I got off easy.
But before that, I hadn't been sick since 2016.
Yeah.
I know. It was the mumps.
Yep. Yep. He doesn't get sick very often, but when he does, it's usually he's sick.
It's usually something like out of the norm.
Yeah, or if it is something that's, not all that unusual, it lays you out. So there, I'm just using a little Payne's Gray shade back there. You don't have to be too delicate about it. We're just putting a little bit of shape in, and we're going to put highlights in. So if it's, looking a little squiffy, don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. No, they don't come in the same package. There's new regulations, so you see lungs with cancer, crippled children born from people who were smoking, just to deter you from smoking. Yeah, we got the same thing here.
Yeah. Yeah, they do the same thing here. I quit years ago, so it doesn't matter. But
yeah, before all that packaging nonsense started.
yeah. Long before. So I've got my shading on my glass. So now we're going to go to, let's do the cinnamon stick. The cinnamon stick is base coated with this. I love this red spice. This I think is my new gingerbread color. I love that red, and it covers very nicely. And this one is super easy. We're just going to put a shadow down the center of this to create that, that rolled up stick of cinnamon.
Mm-hmm. Karen Marburg. Late tuning in, had to walk the puppy. Puppy needs a walk. Miss Dot hasn't touched her food.
Oh, no?
No. Still sitting there.
She's just being fussy.
I think it was all the treats she got on her walk.
Yeah, that could have been. If you could imagine, the population in the village probably doubled today.
Yeah. So everybody
Because
brought
of
dog
the-
treats.
And so Rennie went for his walk with her today, and everybody was giving Dot treats. So that might explain why she's not eating her food.
Tried smoking when I was 13 and it made me vomit. Never again.
Wise.
Wise.
So we're going to add some shading to the holly leaves now. I'm using a little bit of plantation pine.
Deb Antonik, I quit smoking 50 pounds ago.
Well, I quit smoking in
85?
No, it wasn't that long ago. When did we come back from Germany? 91.
I thought you quit smoking after me.
No, I quit smoking after your sister.
Ah.
Yep, 1991.
That explains a lot.
Well, at that time, it wasn't that big a deal. But it was getting there. And I didn't smoke that much when I was pregnant either, so. But, no, I quit cold turkey,
I still...
1991. Holy crap. 30 years ago. Wow.
That, that joke that turned out not to be a joke. A woman was talking to a guy saying how much she spend on cigarettes.
Oh, yeah?
About, $10 a day. Say, well, if you save that money up and blah, 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 you could be driving a Ferrari. Oh, yeah? Where's your Ferrari?
Yeah, no kidding. Where's your Ferrari?
Where's your Ferrari? Do you smoke? No. Where's your Ferrari? You're just going to find somewhere else to spend it.
That's right. Well, at least I'm spending it on art supplies.
That's what Deb just said.
So I went into the base of these leaves with sort of a small U-shaped float. So shade the base of the leaf. And then up the center vein, or down the center vein, depending on how you look at it. And that gives you that nice curved shape to the leaf. Now I'm going to grab my rigger and a little bit of country red because I'm not thrilled with those red berries. Usually only takes one coat, but for whatever reason, I didn't get great coverage with it. So I'm going to put a nice coat of country red, just one more. There we go. Much better. They just looked a little squiffy. So
Jessica was busy working on her turkey and chicken coop.
a turkey and chicken coop.
I guess she's farming turkeys and chickens.
Cool. Be a fun hobby. I think it'd be a hoot. But chickens are such spiteful creatures.
Yeah, you don't like chickens
I don't
anyway.
like chickens. I like eating chickens.
Nom nom.
Oversized poultry and me do not get along.
Turkeys are vengeful.
Turkeys are stupid.
They're stupid, but they're vengeful.
Chickens are too smart for their own good. And they're spiteful. And then there's cobra chickens. We have an abundance of those around here.
I ever tell you the story about Richard?
Richard? Who's Richard?
Richard was a 15 to 20 pound rooster.
Okay. That's a
Steve
good
had.
size. Oh. Okay.
You understand why we called him Richard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah. He later became known as the zombie chicken
Okay.
because when it came, he got injured by coyotes,
Yeah.
and obviously you don't take a rooster to a vet.
No. Well, you should.
Not
but-
for the injuries he had anyway.
Okay.
So it was best just to put him down.
Okay.
Put him out of his misery kind of thing.
Gotcha. Not so much?
So, Steve, the kind soul that he is, went and grabbed the .22
Okay.
and lined up a shot,
Took it.
took it, and this rooster didn't even flinch. It just looked at Steve like, I'm gonna kick your ass. And Steve was scared
He should have been.
because you could see the bullet hole.
You got to remember, chickens have very tiny brains.
Yeah.
There's a good chance he missed it.
Oh my. The look on Steve's face was, I'm scared of this rooster now.
As well.
It's going to die.
Yeah. He was trying to be helpful.
I was trying to be, merciful.
Not so much.
I was trying to help the situation. Take the pain away. Nope.
Zombie chicken.
Zombie chicken.
Somehow, knowing Steve, this does not surprise me.
But yeah. So I have
Zombie chicken.
Yeah, he was a zombie chicken for
Richard the zombie chicken.
There's a reason why we called him Richard though.
So I'm just putting a small little highlight with a little float of warm white on these berries. Just to give them a shape. It's not a strong highlight. Oops. And we are going to punch it up a little bit. We're going to use it just a dot of warm white. And I like to put it up here towards the top like so. Super easy. Don't overthink this one at all. So I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to add a highlight to the leaves. And I'm going to do that with that positively yummy sprout green. I love this color. No, I think I was about 9 or 10. 9. And we were visiting my uncle's farm. And I saw 2 birds fighting on the front lawn.
Were those the geese?
Yes. Yeah. And they weren't fighting. I did not know this.
They weren't fighting.
They were not fighting. I thought they were fighting, but they weren't fighting. So, in my infinite wisdom at the age of 9 or 10-ish, I proceeded to grab them by the neck and pull them apart.
Is that when you found out that they have little balls of cartilage?
That's when I found out that they can beat the ever-loving snot out of you. Which they did. The gander was less happy than the goose was, but needless to say, both of them took a round out of me, but yes. So I've got a little bit of that sprout green, and I'm just putting a little float of that color along the edges and out to the points on those leaves. Not looking for a super bright highlight. You have to remember this is supposed to have been painted onto the glass, so it is part of the glass. It is not separate. So I'm going to put a little highlight going up the center vein, and I like to put a little on those points. They don't have to be super strong either. We're going to deepen that shading a little bit so it'll pop. And then a little highlight down the center vein and out onto the points. So you don't have to be horribly accurate with this too. If you notice where I've put the highlight at the edges, I've left a little tiny space back there. It just gives the leaves a little more definition, a little more shape. So I've got my highlight in place. I'm going to dry this real quick. I don't know. I think that these are just cute. These are cute little signs to put up the holidays. You could stick one inside a wreath. I think it'd be really cute. So I'm going to come back in with a little more of the plantation pine, and this is where I deepen that shading so we get a little more shape. Not to mention it also cleans up any areas that get a little washy looking or a little washed out looking from putting in that highlight. And it accentuates the shape of these leaves. So that one little extra float makes a world of difference. So I'm going to, well, I've got it, I'm going to take a little bit of either almondine or a little bit of that warm white. And we're going to come up here to our cinnamon stick, and I didn't quite get that thinned enough, a little too strong, so I'm putting just a little float on that cinnamon stick, and I'll dry it, and I'm going to come back into that center vein on the cinnamon stick with a little bit of asphaltum just to deepen it a little and define the shape. Cleans up a few little whoopsies. And then we're going to come down and start highlighting all of the details in this. And the first thing we're going to do is start highlighting all of this glass. We're going to do that with the rigger. And I like using a little dry brush. I've got a tiny little Mezzaluna here somewhere. You could do it with a dome stippler or a Mezzaluna. This is a Mezzaluna. I can't find my little teeny tiny. I don't know where it is. So I'm going to see if I can't find my little point blender. There's my Mezzaluna, see? I decided to look for something else and I found it. So I'm just loading this with a little bit of warm white, and it's a dry brush. You're not going to be using a ton of it. And we're going to put just a dry brushed highlight on the blue. On the inside of that handle, come all the way down to the bottom. I do love how this looks. And we're going to put a little in the center of that blue. It's not a strong highlight. It's just a light one. It's going to change the value of that blue a little bit. And on those little pieces of the handle, we need a nice little highlight there. Lighten that handle. I'm going to do the same thing in here. All these little sections at the base. Oop, a little too much paint. Good heavens. I didn't blend enough. There we go. So all of these little areas in here are going to get a dry brush of that warm white, just a little bit. Just helps make everything look nice and bright. Gives us a little bit of light back there. There we go. And all of those highlights are going to get it like a light impact point. So we are going to put a stroke of warm white in there, just so everything stands out the way it's supposed to. There. So I'm going to grab I'm using a number 2 rigger for this. And I like this one because I'm going to we need a nice little light impact in here. And we need one here. Nice little stroke of white. And if you keep it controlled, it's just going to give this glass that sort of a wet look, which is what I wanted. So it's just a little stroke, nothing too elaborate. Don't get too worked up about it. It isn't necessary. And then we're going to put a little stroke in here, just for a light impact point where the light passes through that glass. Now, if there are any spots that you're not happy with at the bottom of this glass, now is the time that you can clean those up. And I just come back in with a little bit of that Prussian blue just to deepen a few things, especially in behind the letters, in this back side here, just so that I get, some nice definition and all of those little shaded areas get the attention they deserve. Now I'm going to grab a liner brush. For this one, I'm using a 10-aught micron, extra long detail liner. It's my go-to. And I'm going to grab a little bit of warm white on my liner. And we're going to finish out the top of this whipped cream. I love this little curlicue at the top. I know it's impossible to do that with real whipped cream, but I just like this little curly doodad at the top. It just gives that such a nice look. Now I'm going to use a slightly bigger mezzaluna this time around. I'm going to go to my medium, I think. And I'm still using the warm white. I'm going to get a little more heavy-handed with it, though, because I want to create an area here, just pulling straight down with some warm white. I don't want to bury all of that holly, but I do want to get a little bit of a reflection in there. So just straight down, just to give it a nice dry look. And then to finish out that highlight, I'm going to come back to my rigger and a little bit of that thinned warm white, and coming out about a half an inch, so the width of your finger, you're going to put a stroke of warm white like so, coming down the edge of that and then curving it slightly in towards the center of the glass. That's going to be your light impact point on that curve. And it cuts right through. Now, you can have a little bit of fun with that holly leaf. I like doing it. I take a little of that sprout green, that beautiful chartreuse-like green that we used for the highlighting on the leaves, and I mix it with a little bit of warm white, because I like to outline my leaves a little bit, just with a little thin stroke. Nothing too fancy. Just to give the edges a little bit of lighter value. And at the same time, if there's anything along the edges of the leaves that you're not thrilled with, that if you're not 100% happy with, this is going to hide a few of those little whoopsies that perhaps you're not thrilled about. And that finishes your holly leaf. It's a super easy way to finish off that motif that's on the glass. And we're going to put a final highlight, which is just a stroke of that almondine or warm white, whichever you have on the palette at the time. Either one will work. It's just a little light impact point right here. Nothing over the top. Super easy. So now the one thing that you need on an eggnog, you need a little bit of ground cinnamon. And I'm going to do that with one of my fugly brushes. I'm going to use one of my smaller ones for this. And I'm going to heavily thin a little bit of asphaltum.
Of course.
And we're going to spatter, but we're going to spatter up close, and we're going to try and isolate it just to the white, so that it looks like you've got a little bit of cinnamon sprinkled on your eggnog.
And some on the glass.
And some on the glass, yeah. Well, powdered cinnamon gets everywhere anyway. So super easy. This is not a complex piece to paint. So we're at the point now where we're going to focus on this lettering. And this part's going to go very quickly. And it's super easy. This is not a really difficult font to paint. I went with this one because I thought it was quite playful and it was very simplistic. So we're going to use some country red and a number 2 rigger for this lettering. And this one is such a forgiving font because it's just straight. You don't have to really do, any fancy curves. Everything is very block-like. So there's nothing overly complex about this particular font, which appealed to me. Especially for this sort of Christmas holiday thing. It was supposed to have a festive look. And I liked this font for that. It's very simple, and it works really well for this. So everything has a very squared off appearance. And because I painted around the lettering, just make sure that you get that color up over the edge of your lines so that everything takes on that, a nice crisp look. You've got plenty of room, so don't worry about getting it just so. There's plenty of room. And I like the country red for this because it covers that